So the session today is on data sources. So we have different people who will give a presentation. So my name is Édouard Legoupil. I'm working for UNHCR. I will be the first person. Then we will have Emanuele Gennai. He's representing ESRI. Halleux from the Référentiel Géographique Commun, the Common Geographic Referential from the RC. Benjamin Jean, who is coming soon, and Gaël Musquet from OpenStreetMap France, we will arrive a bit later. So the idea of this session is to discuss how we manage different data sources. We will discuss the different models, the different license. So maybe I will start with the first presentation. Okay, so I will start with a quick introduction, then present the different conflict between the data sources and the different model, plus I will end with the presentation of a few diplomatic issues we have between the different data sources. Okay, just a brief history of web mapping. I think or everybody knows it, but like all the GIS on server started in the 90s, and at the end of the 90s we had the very first web mapping engine, and the real revolution was in 2004 when both Google Map and OpenStreetMap started to produce and present data on the web. So basically now we have three main models. The first one is the commercial services. So it's basically what we have in Google. Some people will say that Google is also in the second model, the user-generated content. So the idea there is like anyone can come in and contribute with their own data. And then we have the last model, the public service one, which is still the model of the French National Geographic Institute, but also the one of different other institutions throughout the world. Although this one is also currently evolving slowly. Oops. And then if you look at those different models, we have also different licensing terms. So the first question is whether you want to have a copyright on your data. Obviously, in the geographic world, we don't have any real public domain data. Almost all the data have a slight copyright. Then we have the different dimension of the licensing terms. So the first one being the attribution, the second one being related to the commercial usage, and the last one is about the ability to share or to do derivative work on the data. And then, so when you assemble those different dimensions, you end with three. I would say so there are more than those three ones, but I would say those three ones are definitely the ones that are the most present now in the geographic world. So the first one is, I wouldn't say it's really like the one used by Google, but if you have to match it to one of the current licensing terms, Google Map Maker is using this CC BY NCND. Then you have the CC BY SA. So some people will say that now OpenStreetMap is using the ODBL license, but that's basically still the same kind of model. So the main difference between the one from Google Map Maker and the one from OpenStreetMap is there is a way to create commercial application on the top of OpenStreetMap data, which is the major difference with the licensing terms from Google. Although some people will say that you can still have a commercial usage with the data from Google, but then you have to also to pay a subscription. So it's not directly, it's not the first terms. And then you have the very last model. So it's more the non-commercial usage of data. So basically it's one that has been selected by many public organizations. The reason for that is people don't want to publish data that may be seen as a competition, as an unfair competition with private data producer. So that's an example of a data set that was recently released under those non-commercial usage. So It's the dataset produced by UNOSAT. So it's basically tagging a refugee camp on the top of satellite imagery. So as you can guess, the imagery was bought commercially. So in part of the license was you can reuse the vector, but it has to be done in the non-commercial world because we want to keep our business alive. Then you have the terms of use of the COD. So I don't know who knows about the COD, the Common Operational Dataset. So it's now the major data sharing platform for the humanitarian communities. When you go there, you have for most of the countries where we have humanitarian actions, you have a bunch of data set to download. And just basically, the terms of use here are just like no real condition. And the reason for that is there is no way to keep track of the metadata in the COD. So instead of having a real licensing terms, people just avoided it. Then you have the Google, so you know that you have Google Map and Google Map Maker. So Map Maker is the equivalent of OpenStreetMap in the Google world. So the major difference is when you upload your data in the platform, it's only yourself that can download it back. The data are not shared widely, and you cannot reuse the data for commercial usage. So in 2010, because of the different crises, Google made the decision to give the Google Map Maker for free download. The licensing terms were a bit restrictive, and one of the issues was that you have to give a copy of all mapping products back to Google. So it's not it's not very practical in terms of working in an emergency. And recently, I don't know if you've heard about that story, but the World Bank and Google had an agreement. So this one, the first one on the Google blog was the announcement of this agreement, and the idea was that the World Bank will publish all the information of infrastructure on the Google Map Maker platform, and very quickly the Geographic, the OpenStreetMap world reacted very quickly and said that this is not proper, because if you put your data on Google Map Maker, then no one will be able to download them back in for their own usage. So after a few weeks, this is the URL to the blog, the people from the World Bank had to react and say, no, we don't use the Google Map Maker terms. Our data remain open. And so actually that's you can refer to the term of use of the World Bank just below. What is in red is just that there are also, those terms of use are pretty open, but refer to another page called Terms of Use Restricted Data. Actually, those restricted data is an empty page at the moment, but it's just there. There is this idea that some of the data will be restricted. And so now, as you can see, we have different models, and when you try to bring together all those data sets, you end in a situation where some data are good in some places and some are good in other places. So this one is an analysis of the comparison between the OpenStreetMap transportation data and the Google Map Maker one. And the last data set is basically the one from the public, not the public service, but the one from the UN mission in Haiti. So as you can see, in such a situation, you have to decide and start with one data set and try to use the other data set to improve your first data set. Actually, sometimes it's possible, but just the point is, if we are doing that, we are not respecting the Google Map Maker terms of license. No, I would obviously, it looks like that it's easier to work with OpenStreetMap. At the same time, we, as the humanitarian community, when we start working with the user-generated content, we end in situation where the data are not always very usable. So this is just a map of a camp in Liberia. You see, this first map was produced by our site planner, our physical planner, so basically the engineer that are going in the bush to construct the camp. And the second one is the one that was generated from the imagery by the people from OpenStreetMap. So that's a good example, because obviously it looks like the second one is slightly better, because people have really used the imagery to create the map, while this one was maybe more a kind of sketch. But there are examples where it's the other way around. So this is a map of a camp in southern in Ethiopia, close to Somalia. You know, we had many people who arrived from Somalia to Ethiopia recently. And so this is basically what the OpenStreetMap volunteers produced. But for us, in terms of operational usage, we need to have the blocks in the camps, because we register the people and we record their address in the camp. And from the map, our idea is to produce some maps related to the vulnerability, population density, access to water. So we need those camps, we need those blocks, but they are not available when you just digitalize from imagery. So ideally, that's what we would need. And just a quick point on the data model. Now, if you want to bring together a different data set, one issue is also with the data model. As you can see, those are the features in Google. So you have the point of interest medical. But now, if you try to match this to OpenStreetMap, then you see that the healthcare amenity are slightly more detailed. So it's like an additional task to be able to match the two data sets. And the very last dimension is the political one. So as you know, maps are highly political. And we, as the United Nations, our view on the world are slightly different from the one that may be displayed on the mainstream media or from the Western world. So we give 3 examples. The first one is Kosovo. So the first one there is from OpenStreetMap. This is from Google, and this is the official one from the UN. So we are following the recommendation from the UN cartographic section in New York. And for us, Kosovo is not a country. Kosovo is a province of Serbia. There is no official UN recognition of Kosovo. As you can see, it's not the case for OpenStreetMap. They are using the same line than the one for a border. So when you look at the map, it looks like Kosovo is a country. That's not our view on the world. Google is slightly different there. You know, they are a bit more cautious, but still they want to show that they are going along the view of part of the world. Another example is Western Sahara. So Western Sahara for OpenStreetMap is definitely part of Morocco. So it's the other way around than the one for Kosovo. For Google, they are still like the way in between. But for us, Western Sahara is a political entity. We have a UN mission in Western Sahara. We have a recognized name for Western Sahara. So we have to use an international boundary to display the polygons Western Sahara. And the very last example is the Golan 8. So as you know, that's part of the conflict in Middle East. We are using a specific line, that is the line defined by the UN resolution from 60, I'm not sure exactly of the date, but we are using a specific line for that border. If you look at the data from OpenStreetMap, they are even using the Hebrew spelling to show the places in the Golan 8. So again, Google is a bit more cautious. But obviously you can see that we cannot use neither the background from OpenStreetMap, neither the background from Google. So we have to create our own kind of data repository. We cannot really just use either one, either the other. At the same time, we have to take benefit of those two data sources. And so that's maybe just like the end of this presentation, and it's more another few questions. So I don't know, what is the way forward? Should it be a mixed business model, a new business model, where basically both the public services would agree and a model that will allow all those different stakeholders to work together? Maybe the way forward is also in just avoiding to define licenses. which is actually the strategy from in the common operational data set. And maybe the other way forward is also to use our ontology. So I'm just referring there to HXL, the humanitarian exchange language. And so basically the idea is to use linked data and ontology. And I refer you to C.G. Hendricks, who is the guru of HXL sitting there. So, and that's also, I think, a promising approach, especially for the conflicting models. So that's it for now. We now introduce Emanuele Gennai. Welcome in. Yeah. If you don't mind, I think we will first have all the presentation, and then we will go for a series of questions.
Chambéry vous souhaite la bienvenue. Voilà, des questions? Bonjour. Avant tout, je voulais remercier les organisateurs de cette conférence pour nous avoir invités. Je crois que après notre troisième participation à cette conférence, on est vraiment en mode coopératif avec CartONG et j'en suis très satisfait. Je vous remercie aussi d'être tous ici aujourd'hui. Vous êtes une communauté d'utilisateurs, de personnes intéressées par l'information géographique et qui avaient pris conscience, ou prenez conscience, en tout cas c'est ce que nous souhaitons, que cette information géographique a une vraie valeur dans le travail que vous effectuez chaque jour, vous permettant de prendre de meilleures décisions, mieux documentées, etc. Donc je pense qu'on est là, une belle communauté qui souhaite travailler ensemble, puisque le sujet de la conférence c'est le cloud. Et le cloud, c'est ce lieu où on peut enfin partager notre travail de manière relativement intuitive, disons. Voilà, donc ma présentation, c'est sur le contenu, sur ce que ESRI propose comme contenu et ce lieu, notre cloud, si on veut, qui se base en fait sur deux clouds, Amazon et Azure. Ce que nous vous proposons dans notre cloud, ce que nous proposons comme extension au système d'information géographique qui s'appelle ArcGIS, raison pour laquelle on a appelé notre cloud ArcGIS Online. ArcGIS Online est un système qui permet de faire pas mal de choses. C'est pas juste lancer une carte là-haut dans les nuages et en espérant que quelqu'un puisse l'attraper. C'est vraiment un système qui permet de construire. Actually, does anyone have difficulties to understand French here? Because I'm speaking just French, and maybe I should switch to English, should I? Yes?
There are some people who don't.
Sorry then for this. I'm not going to start again. I'm sure you understood some of the French that I spoke. So it's a system to build, manage, and analyze. And so you understand, or what I want to communicate here is that we've been introducing some science, actually, in ArcGIS Online, some analysis. So it's not just, as I said, a place where you can share your maps. It's really a place where you can perform much, much more. You can actually manage your GIS on ArcGIS Online. It's pretty interesting to understand that ArcGIS Online is not only a cloud system, it's also a cloud system within your firewall. So you can have the same technology, ArcGIS Online, that you find in the cloud as on-premises. We call it Portal for ArcGIS. So it's a technology that you can use to share broadly with different communities, but it's also a technology that allows you to share within your organization in a protected space with your employees or your colleagues. It includes a rich set of ready-to-use geographic data sets. So it's extremely rich already, and we are growing it every day. So content is really built inside the ArcGIS Online system and the ArcGIS system, in the sense that you have within ArcGIS and ArcGIS Online all the tools to discover, use, perform analysis, build applications, and so on and so forth. It's a whole suite. And there is a logic in that suite, so that people working with ArcGIS Desktop will find it extremely easy just by right-clicking and just publishing a service like this from a map it's extremely integrated, so you don't have to think about, any interoperability questions or issues when you're using the ArcGIS system, including ArcGIS Online. And of course, the system can be accessed, or this content can be accessed from any device. I'm not going to make the whole list of Androids and iPhones and tablets and of course desktop systems and so on and so forth. The content is published by ESRI, but also by the users of ArcGIS Online, which are the 300,000 organizations that use every day the ArcGIS system, observe, collect, structure, and build their information systems. These organizations can be cities, departments in governments, federal or local governments. I say federal not because the company is from the US, but because I'm Swiss and we are also a federation. So it's all about getting, in ArcGIS Online, the data that's been authored by the people who have the authority to build these data sets. And I think this is pretty important to understand and to communicate that when you look at a map on ArcGIS Online, most of the time it's built by the people who have the authority to build the maps within their structure, which can be their country or their commune and so on and so forth. And of course, there is also ESRI-built content. I will tell you a little bit more what this means. And in the middle, of course, we have this community map program. So we actually communicating with all our customers, telling them, for instance, the city of Geneva. We'll ask them, okay, you have all these data sets, this information. Would you like to publish it on ArcGIS Online? Yes. Well, we'll help you to cache it, to revamp it a little bit, to be able to publish it on a place where all these same data sets from different cities will have the same look. So ESRI content is actually two things mainly. One is data and data sets and base maps that we will produce ourselves. So we're working. It's hard work, but it's a lot of fun too, to have a global coverage of several data sets, including elevation, shady relief, ocean-based maps, lots of maps, of course, that are built by ESRI and that you can use. I don't have a demo, and we don't have time to do a demo here, but if you want to have a closer look to this content and to these maps, then just ask Paola. Are you in the room? I don't see you. Paola De Salvo, my colleague, just there in the back. She will certainly open her computer and show you a little bit what is the content of ArcGIS Online, especially the part built by ESRI. The other thing that ESRI does, ESRI content is really buying data sets. So we are really spending euros, actually a lot of money, to buy imagery and other data to have it available on ArcGIS Online for our users. So there is also a huge investment in terms of real money into ArcGIS Online from ESRI, not just work to build the base maps, but also real money to purchase imagery from GeoEye, from Digital Globe, GeoEye Iconos, and make it available at a very nice resolution to the ArcGIS users. But it's not just about maps and imagery, it's also about geocoding and routing and all kind of tools. So geoprocessing is also part of ArcGIS Online. So we're talking about content. Well, actually what we provide on ArcGIS Online is, of course, maps and data, but it's also other types of content, like geoprocessing tools. Well, here you have a quick look on the I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 content types. This is how content is organized. It's a set of themes. Let's start with the base maps and have a look at the portfolio of base maps that we have. I'm sorry for the display. This presentation was made by a colleague of mine who's called Dean Kensock, and he's American, so you'll see Boston. You won't see Chambéry or or any African examples on this presentation. I apologize for this. I had hoped I had time to change a little bit that layout to show it a bit more related to the work that you do, but obviously it's not. So there is a variety of base maps available on ArcGIS Online. And when I say variety, I mean it's today about 8 or 10 base maps that you can choose to make your own maps. And we're growing that, so we're improving this every month. So you'll have more base maps in the future. This is what ESRI is building. You have, of course, topo maps. You've got National Geographic maps. That's the one you see on the bottom right of the monitor, the screen. There is, of course, OpenStreetMap as a service that you can use as a base map from ArcGIS Online, and so on and so forth. Imagery. There is a lot to say about imagery. You will certainly remember that ESRI has never been a very good imagery company. We used imagery or the results of analysis that most of the times was performed in other tools, partners or non-partner tools. This is changing today with version 10, 10.1, 10.2. We're having more and more tools to perform analysis, to do, auto rectification on the fly, and all kind of functions that are now available on ArcGIS desktop, and that slowly are also brought into the ArcGIS Online environment. So we have, of course, today the World Imagery Map Service, and we have the Global Land Survey, Landsat services that you can use already, and since a few months already. But of course, you have lots more of imagery, and we're procuring imagery, as I said, month after month, to enrich ArcGIS Online with more imagery. So we just have, at the beginning of the year, we have purchased 50 million square kilometers of Iconos. We're now purchasing another 100 million square kilometers of Iconos, 1 meter resolution globally, and that's just the beginning. So I'm sure I am very excited to see that this imagery will be available soon. It's available now already for a part of it, and for March of the next year, we'll have the global coverage with Iconos, almost the global coverage of Iconos. It was 1 meter resolution for the world, 60 centimeters for Europe, and 30 centimeters for the US. I'm sorry for that. So I'm going to do a little bit short about imagery. I think I said what I wanted to say already. Let's talk about elevation. It's one of the content topic that we're working on. But elevation, you will understand, it's not just to build a couple of shaded reliefs that everybody loves to have as a base map, because you can see, the curves and understand pretty quickly if it's going up or down, slope and so on. But we'll also have services and tools to leverage these terrain models. So, right now, as is written here, it's used to represent hillshades and so on. But now we're working on having these data sets to support all kind of measures using elevation, like line of sight, terrain, and so on and so forth. So yes, you have this here. So elevation tool, profile, visibility, auto rectification tools for using in applications, because ArcGIS Online is also a huge storage of application that you can use, get the code out, and use the code to build your own maps and applications. And as you see here, the future of ArcGIS Online content is not just about a few maps. It's really about tools that will allow you to perform analysis online. So it's a whole system that we're building up there, I think it's quite unique if you compare it to other offerings right now. Geocoding and gazetteers. So you know how challenging it is. And, we mentioned already CJ. He's up there now in the corner. Are you punished, CJ? Why are you up there in the corner? Are you cold? Cozy place? So, we know how important it is for several UN organizations, especially the first responders, the people that are responsible, as mentioned, with the common operating data sets and other things, to perform geocoding and geosearch. You know why geocoding is useful. Well, geosearch is free. So you know that part of ArcGIS Online is free to use for anyone. And geosearch is a free tool that you can use on ArcGIS Online. But geocoding, masses of polygons or points, like thousands, is a service that is for a fee. So that it comes with a subscription to ArcGIS Online. It includes credits that will allow you to perform this kind of analysis, geocoding, and so on. And of course, this is available also on the APIs and the software development kits, so that you can manipulate the geocoding engine for your specific needs. So you'll see that that's quite exciting, actually, what's coming on. And of course, all this is available on the desktop, on the web, on mobile devices. One of the distinguishers, I would say, of the ESRI offering online is really on the mobile side, is that we support all mobile platforms. So Windows Mobile, Windows, iOS, and Android. And for each one, we have an API that allow you to develop the applications that will then be available in the cloud. So we support all. I don't think there is any other operating system really out there that we should support. If there is one, let us know, and we'll see if we need to support it as well. But we see that 75% of the phones today are powered with Android, so we know the direction that all this will take after the big fight between the Windows and Apple and Google. I'll skip this one because I said it already. So the difference between GeoSearch and geocoding. Geocoding is about geocoding many points, lines, or polygons, but it's also about enabling to store the results for later use. Skip this one. And one point is network analysis. I have just a couple of minutes, so I'll do it quickly. But this is mainly to tell you that right now, until these days, you got routing services. So that's, what a routing service is. I have to go from A to B and go through C and D, calculate the shortest route, the fastest route, and so on and so forth. And of course, this is available. It's a good function that is available on the desktop, on the web, on mobile. But it's, of course, just a little bit that what you can do when you perform network analysis. So what's coming now as new tools and geoprocessing services on ArcGIS Online is service area, so drive time, that map with the pink color there, drive time and service area. Closest facility, vehicle routing problem, the traveling salesman problem. I don't want, I've got just a pair of shoes and I need to walk all these miles. So maybe I want to minimize and then, of course, historic and live traffic. So to perform analysis and comparisons, but also having live feeds for GPS devices and so on. So you may ask me, what is this? This is geomarketing. Well, it's actually very useful also for a humanitarian response. When you want to identify where is the nearest hospital or nearest facility when something happens, then these tools are extremely useful as well for disaster response, humanitarian response, health, building health systems, and so on and so forth. Location analysis, I'll be very quick on this, but this is actually the future. So it's really all the analysis. Imagine, I'm not being told that by ESRI really, but I can make my own picture of what's coming next. So what's coming next in the next few years is really all the geoprocessing and analysis capabilities that you have today on the desktop will be brought in the cloud. Probably, certainly not all at once, because it's quite a lot of work, but ArcGIS Online content will go that direction. It's going that direction, and in that sense, it's rather unique. This is one thing that I wanted to mention to you. ArcGIS Online, the data that's in ArcGIS Online is also available on-premise as an appliance. So the box that you see here is about 12, 15 kilos box. It has inside the whole content of ArcGIS Online, including imagery. It gets updated every 3 months, and it's used by organizations that are not connected when they're on the field, not because there is no connection, but for many organizations because they're not allowed to. I give you a simple example: the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, CTBTO, in Vienna, when they have an operation, when they have to go in the field and check if there has been a nuclear test, which is banned today, then they are not allowed to be connected while they do their research and isotopes and all kind of analysis and sensors. So they need a device like this one. They can take in the field, use ArcGIS Online within their, let's say, firewall. So just to mention that it's also available this way, and very useful for many users that have a specific needs. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's 15 minutes. Well, I think I'm done with this. The content, as you know, is growing, and what you see, the little animation here, is about digital globe data. This is yesterday, this is today, and this is in March 2013, right? So you'll have almost global coverage with digital globe 1 meter within the next few months. I thank you very much. I think we're done. You're a great, as I say, the great group of people. The non-profit organization programs works pretty well. It's about getting free or for a transactional fee software from ESRI for non-profit organizations, mainly NGOs. And we have already had thousands of organizations that have joined the program. Many of you have joined the program, and we thank you for this. This was my last slide. Thank you very much.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Merci beaucoup pour cette invitation. Je suis ravi d'être avec vous. So I'm really glad to be there with you. I am also very sorry because I prepare everything in French, and if I want to be fast and exhaustive, I have to switch in French. Anyway, if you have any question, I will be happy to answer in English at the Q&A session. So, la propriété intellectuelle. Je ne vais pas vous faire un cours de droit sur la propriété intellectuelle. Ce qui est intéressant, alors oui, je peux switcher avec la souris. Ce qui est intéressant autour de la propriété intellectuelle, et notamment au regard des présentations qui viennent d'être faites, c'est qu'on se rend compte, et c'est pareil dans tous les domaines, que le droit de manière générale et la propriété intellectuelle plus particulièrement sont généralement vus comme des obstacles à la création, des obstacles à l'utilisation, à la diffusion. L'idée de cette intervention sur la propriété intellectuelle et sur le sous-titre « Un outil précieux pour l'humanitaire » était de montrer que la propriété intellectuelle, comme bien d'autres outils d'ailleurs, pouvait avoir une vocation en faveur de l'humanitaire. Alors, l'humanitaire n'est pas un domaine dans lequel j'ai moi-même été amené à travailler, si ce n'est en périphérie, et notamment dans le cadre du projet OpenStreetMap par exemple. Mais je pense que la plupart des éléments que je vais vous donner ici peuvent facilement être transposés. Donc une première partie qui va concerner le contexte, la propriété intellectuelle. Je vais rapidement évoquer l'open source et l'open data, son cousin. Le bénéfice ensuite de la propriété intellectuelle pour l'humanitaire, pareil, ça sera avec quelques idées seulement, on n'a pas le temps d'approfondir les choses. Et éventuellement quelques recommandations, alors sans prétention. L'idée, c'est simplement de partager avec vous les idées qui me sont venues, notamment dans la préparation de ces quelques slides. Donc la propriété intellectuelle, quelques bases. Je parle principalement, en tout cas je me base sur le droit français. Cela dit, le droit de l'Union européenne est quasiment le même. Et à l'échelle internationale, on retrouve de nombreux traités qui viennent harmoniser chacun de ces droits dans ces différentes branches. Je dis chacun de ces droits parce que la propriété intellectuelle, ce n'est pas un droit de propriété intellectuelle, donc ce ne serait pas un droit qui viendrait appréhender tout ce qui pourrait ressortir de l'esprit ou de la tête d'une personne. C'est un ensemble de droits qui va venir, au regard du type de création, donner un monopole, donc un droit de propriété, à un individu ou une organisation. On a dans cet ensemble, on parle souvent d'ensemble, d'archipel de droits de propriété intellectuelle. Pourquoi ? Parce que tout le reste, quand on parle de la galaxie, l'image de la galaxie ou l'image de l'archipel consiste à dire quelques îles, quelques planètes sont des monopoles, sont des droits, et tout le reste c'est la liberté. Donc on a dans cet ensemble de droits la propriété intellectuelle, la propriété littéraire et artistique, et la propriété industrielle. Pourquoi je fais la distinction rapide des deux ? La propriété industrielle, c'est une série de droits qui a été conçue pour l'industrie, comme son nom le dit, qui nécessite une démarche active, un dépôt, la demande d'un titre, et qui aboutit ou non d'ailleurs à la réception d'un titre de propriété. À l'inverse, les droits de propriété littéraire et artistique sont des droits qui naissent automatiquement. De par la loi, lorsque notre création répond à certains critères, on va détenir un droit sur cette création. C'est une distinction qui est bonne à rappeler, puisqu'elle, du coup, elle va permettre à la propriété littéraire et artistique d'être présente même dans des relations qui n'ont pas été, même lorsqu'elle n'a pas été envisagée a priori dans la collaboration ou en faveur de l'exploitation. Donc tous ces droits sont des droits qui sont finalisés, discriminants et complémentaires. Je vais très vite là-dessus, simplement pour vous rappeler que chacun de ces droits, par exemple le droit d'auteur, ou le droit sur les brevets, le droit sur les marques, le droit sur les topographies de semi-conducteurs, peu importe, sont des droits qui sont effectivement calqués sur le droit de propriété qu'on a dans le Code civil. On va considérer, pour faire vite, que j'ai les mêmes droits sur la présentation que je suis en train de vous faire que sur le téléphone que je détiens entre mes mains. C'est une analogie, mais c'est aussi une simplification. La propriété que j'ai sur mon téléphone est quasiment sans limite. La propriété que j'ai sur ces slides, elle, connaît énormément de limites. Je ne peux pas utiliser mon droit d'auteur pour ou contre, la plupart du temps, n'importe quoi. Ces différents droits de propriété intellectuelle, et encore dans cette idée de vous donner un panorama global en une seule slide, ce qui est un pari, puisque généralement, même des cours de 20 heures ne suffisent pas à enseigner aux étudiants ce qu'est la propriété intellectuelle et tous les tenants et aboutissants de ces différents droits. Simplement pour vous dire que la propriété intellectuelle, les différents droits de propriété intellectuelle sont aujourd'hui souvent remis en cause, parce qu'ils répondent plus forcément à la société d'aujourd'hui, alors qu'ils ont été conçus il y a quasiment 2 siècles pour certains. Première chose. Et par ailleurs, il y a une deuxième remise en cause de la propriété intellectuelle, des différents droits de propriété intellectuelle, au regard de l'usage qui en est fait. Je vais très rapidement là-dessus, mais en matière de brevet, on appelle ça les patent pools. En matière de droit d'auteur, on parle parfois de copyright pools, mais il y a encore d'autres termes. Et l'idée, c'est que des gens s'aperçoivent que ces droits de propriété intellectuelle ont une valeur économique et qu'ils vont, eux, capitaliser là-dessus pour pervertir le marché, c'est pas le terme, mais pour avoir un intérêt supérieur et diriger le marché en leur faveur. Donc ça, c'est très rapidement la propriété intellectuelle. L'open source et plus tard l'open data, c'est un mouvement qui s'est greffé par-dessus cette base légale. Donc un système qui est dérivé du cadre légal, dans lequel les différents acteurs, les différents créateurs choisissent eux-mêmes de mettre en place les règles qui vont leur convenir. Donc ils se basent sur les droits qu'ils tirent de la loi, droit d'auteur, donc on peut parler d'un droit d'auteur sur le logiciel. En matière de cartographie, on va parler par exemple d'un droit sui generis sur les bases de données, j'y reviendrai. Ils se servent de ces droits qu'ils détiennent de par la loi pour mettre en place un cadre qui répond à leurs objectifs. Donc c'est ce que j'essaie de traduire en parlant de communauté de créateurs qui s'organisent dans un esprit de partage. L'idée, c'est, voilà, moi je détiens des droits, je ne veux pas, je veux les utiliser. Pourquoi? Non pas parce que je suis dans la volonté d'exclure les autres de ce que j'ai produit, au contraire, j'ai envie qu'ils le voient. Mais mes droits, je vais les utiliser de sorte à ce que si eux modifient par exemple ce que j'ai moi-même mis à disposition, ils soient contraints. Alors contraints dans quelle mesure, ça on va le voir, mais ils soient contraints à, par exemple, adopter la même licence, donc à rentrer dans cette logique de co-création. C'est un système qui s'étend à tous les domaines de la création. On parle d'open source dans le domaine du logiciel, on parle d'open data dans le domaine des données. Alors la cartographie, c'est un très bon exemple avec OpenStreetMap, et Gaël tout à l'heure va nous faire une présentation beaucoup plus fouillée du sujet. En France, j'ai été amené à travailler avec énormément de collectivités qui passaient leurs données, qui ouvraient leurs données dans un mode open data. C'était toutes ces problématiques aussi nouvelles pour des collectivités, mais relativement intéressantes. Qu'est-ce qu'on détient et comment est-ce qu'on peut valoriser d'une nouvelle façon, sans forcément avoir un intérêt financier derrière tout ça, des données qu'on a entre les mains. L'open hardware, donc c'est encore un autre phénomène, et puis il y en a beaucoup d'autres. Mais dès lors qu'il y a création et dès lors que des individus sont concernés, des individus et parfois des organisations, on peut assister à la mise en place de modèles de type open source, open data, qui répondent, ça c'est plus un constat, et pareil, je vous donne mes idées très rapidement parce qu'on n'a pas le temps d'approfondir, mais qui répondent à l'idée que l'innovation et la création sont aujourd'hui complètement différentes de celles qu'on connaissait il y a peut-être même 10 ans. Avant qu'Internet et le numérique et Internet soient autant banalisés et utilisés par tant de personnes. Maintenant, les créations sont plurales. Il n'y a plus un seul auteur qui est derrière chaque création. Elles sont itératives, elles se modifient au fur et à mesure, évolutives et de plus en plus rapides. L'idée, dans ce cadre-là, l'idée de l'open data ou de l'open source, c'est de faciliter ça. A priori, on va donner l'autorisation aux gens de modifier, de rediffuser, de réutiliser nos créations pour favoriser justement cette nouvelle innovation et création qui correspond à la société dans laquelle on est. De nouveaux modèles économiques se créent autour de ça. Alors là, si je rentre pareil sur la branche économique du changement, alors économique et propriété intellectuelle au regard de la société de maintenant, on pourrait en parler pendant des heures. Mais ce qu'il est intéressant peut-être à noter, c'est que dans le domaine du logiciel au moins, il y a énormément de sociétés qui sont créées grâce à l'open source, donc grâce aux contributions des autres, au kernel Linux, Red Hat, qui est une société américaine, est cotée en bourse. Je crois qu'elle a un chiffre d'affaires de 150 millions. Je veux dire, c'est quand même des sociétés qui gagnent de l'argent. Voilà, très rapidement. Le bénéfice pour l'humanitaire, j'y viens. Désolé, j'ai fait une aparté peut-être un peu trop longue, mais l'intérêt que je vois, moi, dans cette mouvance open data, open source, donc des individus qui se rejoignent pour créer ensemble, c'est cette constitution d'un pot commun. C'est souvent ce qu'on appelle copyleft dans le domaine du logiciel. Copyleft par opposition à copyright. Copyright, j'ai un droit, j'empêche la copie. Copyleft, j'ai un droit. Alors soit jeu de mots right-left, soit au contraire le fait de laisser à disposition des autres. Donc la constitution d'un pot commun autour de données humanitaires, l'idée serait de dire, bon, tout individu qui est amené à soit collecter, soit utiliser, modifier, créer lui-même des données qui ont cette vocation humanitaire, pourrait avoir un intérêt commun, collectif, à partager ces données avec d'autres personnes. On reprend vraiment le même esprit qu'on retrouve dans l'open data. Donc avec un intérêt collectif qui anime des acteurs dispersés, qui soient fournisseurs, utilisateurs, producteurs de données. Tout ça pour vous... L'avantage d'ailleurs du milieu humanitaire dans lequel cette conférence se place, c'est qu'à mon avis, beaucoup plus d'organisations seront concernées par ces enjeux. C'est-à-dire expliquer à une collectivité, par exemple, expliquer à une association, expliquer même dans le cadre d'un projet européen que parce qu'il y a une vocation humanitaire, on a tout intérêt à partager et donc à rentrer, par exemple, dans ce courant open data, ce sera beaucoup plus simple que ça ne peut l'être dans le domaine de l'open source, où les finalités d'un utilisateur, finalité du logiciel libre, c'est de dire n'importe quel utilisateur de pouvoir modifier tout ce qu'il a sur son PC. Il y a 4 libertés qui sont listées. C'est un courant qui est fort, mais qui touche beaucoup moins facilement les gens que ne peuvent toucher le courant humanitaire. Donc la détention d'un droit ne préfigure pas de son usage. Tout à l'heure, je vous parle de propriété intellectuelle, mais je ne vous ai pas parlé de licence, de rente, quoi que ce soit. Mais c'est vraiment l'idée que je voulais transmettre ce soir. Et quoi qu'il en soit, c'est pour étendre un peu le propos. On utilise nos droits de propriété intellectuelle, on peut les utiliser en tout cas pour mettre en place un cadre de collaboration. Ça n'empêche pas que des processus doivent être mis en place pour organiser la collaboration elle-même. Notamment pour assurer qualité. Oui, je vais essayer d'être terminé rapidement, pardon. Donc la constitution d'un cadre de collaboration avec les industriels est tout à fait possible. Il ne faut pas non plus opposer systématiquement open data et société. Alors effectivement, certaines sociétés ont un modèle économique qui n'est pas du tout adapté au partage des données. Sur le web, on a énormément de sociétés qui collectent, qui amassent énormément de données, mais qui ensuite ont tout intérêt à ce que ces données-là ne soient pas partagées avec d'autres. Soit, mais dans ce cas-là, elles ne rentreront peut-être pas dans ce courant d'open data. Disons que lorsqu'elles auront intérêt à le faire, elles le feront. J'ai un exemple très rapide à ce sujet-là. C'était il y a quelques années, Google avait travaillé énormément sur Linux, sur donc le Linux, le logiciel, le système d'exploitation Linux. Google avait son propre système d'exploitation Linux qu'il modifiait, mettait à jour, maintenait, sur lequel il assurait le support. Et un jour, ça demandait tellement de temps, d'efforts, d'énergie en interne qu'ils se sont dit finalement on va partager. On a tout intérêt à faire assurer cette maintenance, ce support, cette évolution à tout le monde. Donc on leur fait profiter de ce qu'on a fait, mais aussi on va bénéficier de leur retour plutôt qu'à garder tout dans notre coin. Donc je pense que l'open source comme l'open data, à cet égard, on peut choisir de se mettre à l'écart, mais un jour ou l'autre, de toute façon, ça sera de plus en plus pertinent et on rejoindra le courant. Voilà, donc je vais terminer parce que le temps court. Quelques recommandations. Alors juste une remarque concernant la licence, parce que c'était l'un des sujets qui avait été abordé dans nos échanges préliminaires. Je ne pense pas qu'il y ait une licence adaptée à l'humanitaire, je veux dire. On n'a pas à rédiger, à mon avis, il n'est pas utile de rédiger une nouvelle licence pour l'humanitaire. La licence elle-même n'a que pour vocation de gérer les droits de propriété intellectuelle. Une fois qu'on l'a compris et une fois qu'on a saisi que la gestion de la propriété intellectuelle pourrait avoir d'autres vocations qu'un intérêt purement économique, on peut très bien faire de l'humanitaire avec la propriété intellectuelle. Plus généralement, il peut être intéressant d'avoir des politiques claires en matière de marques, de brevets, de droits d'auteur même, donc qui soient favorables à l'humanitaire. Ça, c'est des choses qu'on voit beaucoup, par exemple sur Internet, mais aussi en dehors. Telle société qui affiche son soutien à telle cause et dans cet affichage, elle promet par exemple une non-agression ou elle cède des droits de propriété intellectuelle. L'aspect organisation des communautés est aussi très intéressant. Voilà, et de manière générale, c'était pour conclure là-dessus, et ça concerne moins l'humanitaire, mais tout de même de manière accessoire. De manière générale, Internet et le numérique favorisent le partage, donc ça c'est un constat on ne peut plus simple. Maintenant, il devient préférable, à mon sens, de se poser la question du pourquoi retenir plutôt que du pourquoi partager. Plus facile de partager en inversant les principes, et finalement, c'est la société dans laquelle on est, et justement dans cette dimension de partage. Voilà.
Hello, my name is Claire, and I've been working a few years for some humanitarian organizations in the field, and this is why I was asked to come here and to speak a bit about the data challenges in the field. And I'm here representing the Référentiel Géographique Commun, so the Common Geographic Referential, something like that, which is a platform created in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I will describe this a bit later. So, yeah, translation of the title is challenges everywhere, so this is not very difficult to understand. Okay, yeah. So the ArcGIS, as we usually call it, is a collaborative platform of geographic data in the DRC. And what we call, actually it means that some institutions, organizations, NGOs, and people decided to come together and to share their geographic data. The objectives of this platform is to provide to all the best possible geographic data available in the country in a format which would be usable by all of them, or at least all of the people who contributed to it. And this way of sharing information will help to prevent duplicating efforts in updating the data, in creating the data, in collecting it, and that was the main purpose of this platform. And it can also help to prevent the loss of data when a project is achieved and an NGO or an organization is leaving the country and they don't want all their work to be lost or forgotten on a remote computer. And so some of those organizations decide to leave the data and to give it to this platform so it can be shared to the whole community. And a second objective, main objective of this platform is to do some capacity strengthening, so organizing trainings, helping in doing plaidoyer, advocacy. And so sometimes to help get fundings or softwares, hardwares, to help assessing the needs. And all the work done inside this platform, so all this work done on the data and on the capacity reinforcement is done voluntarily. So from the beginning that this platform was created, all the work was done, for, let's say, for free for the community. Some organizations contributed in paying their own staff and telling them that they should help and contribute to this platform. But that was the only resources that we had. Yeah. The main data challenges in the field are our need of geographic data for humanitarian operations planning or even for other projects, for assessing the needs, cost, time, resources, staff, to find where we are supposed to go, to find what are the ways that we can reach those places, those affected areas, those communities. And then if an NGO wants to organize an operation to help schools in one district, they need to know how many schools there are in this district, how many students are there. And this very basic information can be actually quite difficult to know in some countries like the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or in some other countries where those data are considered as military related or very restricted and not offered to international staff. And so sometimes you arrive in a country where there's a big humanitarian organization and you basically need to start from scratch or nearly. And that's why this platform was created, to build those data that they would stay available for all agencies, organizations who would need them. And so we also usually need population density data, topographic data, for risk management, assessing those risks, flooding, and other ones. The history of the platform, it was actually created in 2005, and it was launched by UNGLC, so which was the United Nations Joint Logistics Center, which was working in the DRC. And it started as a DRC GIS working group, as actually in many other humanitarian operations, it's common that the GIS staff from different organizations gather and try to find the data that they miss and to be able to work properly. So initially, in 2005, we had mainly UN agencies gathering for this purpose. And then NGOs started, and very fast, national institutions were also invited. Because when you want to know how many provinces or how many districts there are in the country, you need to have the information to find it and to get it a bit official from national institutions. So this is the way it started. And then around 2009, the platform was renamed Référentiel Géographique Commun. But the purpose was the same from the beginning. And the coordination was ensured by different organizations, depending on the availability of resources or staff. And so UNGLC started, then it was OCHA, then UNDP and the Cellule Infrastructure from a transport ministry in Congo. And then we had a bit of a kind of quiet time where it seemed that the RGC fall asleep for like 1 year, and it started again at the beginning of 2011 with many more partners and with a bit different strategy. And now the coordination is ensured by 2 national institutions, which are again the Cellule Infrastructure and the National Geographic Institute of Congo. And all this platform was usually gathering in Kinshasa, so in the capital, where we could find easily the ministries, the national institutions, the headquarters. But it also happened that we were making meetings in other areas of the countries, because usually the needs are bigger where the emergency is bigger. And in DRC, the emergency is bigger in the eastern part of the country. The country is huge, which means you have to do like more than 1,000, 2,000 kilometers to find your colleagues which are working remotely. And so we were sometimes decentralizing our meetings. The challenges in this kind of platforms, or with the partners joining it, can be quite huge in terms of software, hardware, because they can have like computers working with Windows 1995 and without having been updated for years. And so even if you come with a GIS software, it won't be compatible with it because it's too old material. And then finding fundings, the fact that all this work was done voluntarily was always also not very easy to update those data. Capacity building is quite important with all the partners. The internet connection over there is quite a problem, because yesterday we were listening that connection is not anymore a problem, but actually in DRC it's really a huge problem. And so, I will continue a bit faster, but we can speak about the la fuite des cerveaux, which means that when you train someone for a specific purpose, after he's been trained, he's going to be hired by someone else who will pay much more. And so this makes also our work a bit more difficult. To access our data on which we were working, initially we were exchanging them on hard support, so CD, DVDs, or USB stick. And we had Excel files, Access, databases, and mapinfo files, and shape files too. And then we moved to a more internet-based, and we published now we are publishing all the data as shape files because it's the most common format, which is really easily usable with any software you are using. And we publish them on our website, which is www.rgc.cd, making them available for most. Initially, so in 2005, exchange files was always done offline, so it was only between the partners or to some people making the request. And then the data became published on the OCHA website, then on the RGC website, and this year they are still published on the RGC website, but we are in the process of having a proper license on those data. And it's been approved to move to an ODBL, DBCL data license. So our colleagues spoke a bit about those. The main characteristics of this license are the fact that you can share freely the data you get. You can create, innovate from those data. You can modify it, improve it. But the three conditions are to give the source, to inform the other ones, to share alike, which means that if you improve the database, you have to share it again with the same conditions that you got it. And then you cannot put restricted limitations, like technical limitations, on the access of this database. Sorry. All our data were provided by national institutions, UN, NGOs, different projects, or even private people. And then to work on those, to improve them, we share them in 6 different thematic groups. Initially there were 2, then 3, and now 6. And so the editing process is done at the level of each group. And then the coordination check if it meets our standardization process. And then they are published on the website. About the sustainability of this platform, we were trying, it's been alive for more than 7 years, so it's not all new. But still, it's an everyday work to make it work and being updated. And so we were trying to get this platform, which was initially UN-based, to become a really national one. So based on national institutions. But there are still lack of resources, material and human resources. And when we go from a UN to a national platform, as our Édouard was showing us, for instance, some informations won't be showed the same way if they are coming from the UN or if they are coming from the country government in terms of boundaries, but even in terms of codification or in terms of other information you will provide. And then initially we were trusting the data which were coming from the field, because those data were gathered for humanitarian purposes. But sometimes the data coming from the field is contradicting the official data. If the platform is now governmental, they will want to publish the official data and not the field data. And so this is another process, another thing on which we are working on. And so you can see, I hope you learn a bit about this platform. Currently, unfortunately, from this weekend, the website is not available. It will become available hopefully today again. But you are free and welcome to come and visit it and to download the data if you want to make some exercises. We know it's not perfect, but still it can be used for what you want. And then if you have any support, any interest or anything, I'll be very happy to speak with you afterwards. Thank you.
So, good morning, everybody. I'm Gaël Musquet. I'm the chairman of OpenStreetMap France. I will explain what we are doing with OpenStreetMap. So, my first question will be, who don't know OpenStreetMap here? Okay, perfect. So, OpenStreetMap is a database, so it is a free database under the license ODBL. So I think you already have a lot of details about this type of license. So I will be as short as possible about this field, about license. But you have many rights, only 2 obligations. You must respect paternity and the share-like condition. About this license, and OpenStreetMap is used in many fields like transport and for this type of in our fields, in the humanitarian fields, for crisis, for example. So the power of OpenStreetMap is his community. So here we have last week we have about 850,000 contributors, so people who are logged on OpenStreetMap, and more than 10,000 in France. We have a lot of partnership with other open source community, because OpenStreetMap is based on, for example, PostgreSQL. We have a lot of partnership with JavaScript community for some example about libraries like TileMill, or some software like TileMill, like the QGIS, for example, community, to have a lot of service based on OpenStreetMap data, who can be used in many agencies, like state agency, local government agency, and in fact NGOs. We have a lot of events who had been created in order to coordinate the community and to have social partners in order to gather data. So we have a lot of mapping parties. So if you are going on the OpenStreetMap website, you will have the list of all mapping parties all over the world. We have Night of Living Maps with Nuit Blanche of mapping. So we are focused on territories, on topics. We are focused on quality of the data. We have wiki projects. So with the Hurricane Sandy, for example, we have a lot of wiki projects who are focused on this type of events, or the natural disaster, for example. And this type of project is on the wiki the wiki project is created in order to coordinate new mappers and other community who want to help us to have data. And we have, in fact, open data and open source events like this one. We use a lot of devices in order to record and to have data. So we use a lot of smartphone, GPS, in fact, but also camera, webcam, and a lot of type of vehicle in transport way. For example, we use kites, for example, in order to have aerial imageries. We use also balloon, and when we can have UAV. There is also some communities and some projects like Paparazzi from the ENAC school who are built in order who are helping us to have very cheap UAV. On the top of this data, we use a lot of rendering engine like Mapnik, who is a grid rendering engine, and many web services like routing, like style sheet in order to render some natural disasters or some data we want to have for thematic maps. And our community built the humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, who is the NGOs of OpenStreetMap. There is some members of these NGOs here, and the humanitarian OpenStreetMap team builds the task managing tools with a grid of square where each people who want to map a zone can focus on this zone and said, okay, I already mapped all the building, I'm already mapped all the power line, I'm already mapped all the refugee camp. And afterwards, there is some people who can validate this data. So this is a great tool in order to coordinate the community and to coordinate actions on the ground. So I talk about community who are partners with us, and we have some great projects like Yushaili and the other communities who are focused only on crisis, like Crisis Commons and Crisis Mappers, who are two great community around natural disasters. So this is our work, and I will show you some facts. In France only, we trace about 1,000 kilometers of streets each day. We have more than 70,000 parkings and more than 1 million of kilometers of streets. For example, the IGN have only 850,000 kilometers of streets in his official database. So there is a lot of data, there is a lot of point of interest, there is a lot of work, and the power of OpenStreetMap, I say that again, is the community. So if you want to work with us, you can join us on this website, on this Twitter field, and other addresses. So feel free to talk with me afterwards about the community. I don't know if I can show you on this laptop some website. No?
Maybe after it's a bit.
Okay, I will show you afterwards the live stream of contribution on OpenStreetMap over the world in real time. So feel free to see me afterwards. Thank you very much.
So we will... En français, les questions? Des questions, peut-être on peut prendre quelques questions. On est déjà un petit peu en retard, mais je pense qu'on a la place pour quelques questions.
I have basically two questions. One, we've seen different solutions to publish the data. There is any system to control the quality of the data and to ensure that the data are all in the same standards? Because one of the problems that I found it is that basically it's not the amount of data and is not the fact to access the data in website or in database, but most of them, I know, for example, the data repositories or UN, the GIST UN data repository, that most of the data are bad quality, not because people they are not able to take data or UN is not doing a control on that. It's managed by the University of California, but basically because there is no filter between data upload and somebody checking and standardizing and making data quality control. So everything that you're shown, I mean, apart from the public data like the data from Iconos images or SRTM data model or something like this, but then the data uploaded from the users, if there is any filter to ensure the quality of the data there. The second question is for ArcGIS Online, which is the topographic model that you use. So you have a 3D the topographic analysis. What is the data source that you use it? And then for OpenStreet, like for ArcGIS Online, basically if it's possible to download this data and use it offline. Because we've seen yesterday here we are in a meeting about do cloud of terrain, and we couldn't do the exercise because there was no network connection. So that's mainly the problem. I mean, if we rely too much in something that we can have online and then in several locations we can't. So if it's possible to download the data or work offline. Thanks. I'm Fabio Fussi. I'm from the University of Milano. I'm working in the remote sensing department. And I'm consultant from UNICEF about the application of GIS for hydrogeological mapping. Thanks.
Okay. So maybe I reply to the first one. I leave the second one for you. So for the first one, your question is about data quality. So I mean, if we refer to the three main sources of information, so the first one is a commercial one. So I guess for data quality, we can rely on the process that have been set up by data provider. So the main provider have their own processes to ensure data quality. For the user-generated content, the idea is to have, I mean, I know there's a term called CrowdRank algorithm. I mean, the idea is that if you put some data on those repository, and if someone is looking at them and realize that the data are not good, then they can correct it. So the idea is the more people you have in the system, the more people will be able to just correct the data set. And for the very last one, for the data that are produced by public services, it's exactly like a private data provider. They also have their own quality control. But I think what you're referring to are initiatives made by universities. So, I mean, those initiatives are not related to none of those terms, right? It could be data that are produced by NGOs, but it's not really authoritative data. So that's maybe what is a bit difficult to handle in those cases. Am I replying to your question?
What I'm referring is managed by the university, but is the official data repository where a lot of UN agencies.
I mean, for us, actually, at the moment, our data repository for the humanitarian community is a COD from the cod.humanitarianresponse.info. And I think the one you are referring to I mean, actually, we as UNHCR, we are not using it. We are using the COD from OCHA.
Okay. So basically, it's a question about, in general, how to validate and ensure the quality of the data uploaded by users, by different users, not trained, not controlled.
So it's I think that's the idea of OpenStreetMap.
Yeah.
Like, the more people will be looking at it, the more chances you have that someone will come and correct it. Yeah. Maybe the second one too.
Yes, thank you for the question. Just a little comment on the first one, because it's an important issue, but it's nothing new. That quality control is not something that's coming up because we put data in the cloud. I mean, it's a problem or an issue that GIS officers have been facing for decades now. So what I would say is that you still need a desktop product in terms of technology. So whatever ArcGIS or other products, in order to check your data, close the polygons, clean and build before you post it. It's your responsibility. And I think it's important for the people developing these kind of platforms that they make sure that the data that is loaded up there is authoritative, so that it comes from a trusted source. It's commented with metadata that you can go to the source and ask for more questions if you need to. So that's part of the quality control. And of course, it's important, but it's nothing new. It's not because we have online systems that this comes up. About the question on ArcGIS Online, so ESRI is curating data sets up there in the cloud. It's not our data, but we're collecting bits and pieces of SRTMs, DEMs, and so on, and we're mosaicing and building global digital elevation models. These digital elevation models are not the same accuracy depending on the place you are on the planet. I don't think you can download this data because it's not ours, actually. But I will revert the question to Paula if she can maybe comment on how we can use this data outside of ArcGIS Online. Then I will be happy that she helps me answer. About other data sets. So I mentioned that there are three sources. One is what ESRI procures and makes available. Another one is what ESRI builds and makes available. And the third one is the contribution of the different communities. When we're talking about the community-based maps program, this is, you can trust this, is authoritative data, and it's rechecked by ESRI before it's published. And all the rest is what you publish. So I would say it's your responsibility to make sure that this data is good, but it's not necessarily that this data will be seen by everybody. You can restrict, when you build your community, you have different tools, Facebook kind of stuff, that you can build your network up there. Paula, you want to comment on?
Yes, I think Emanuele has answered in part to your question. Regarding the possibility of having the data from ESRI in a disconnected environment, Emanuele mentioned it before in his presentation that you can have on-premise the ESRI data on a disconnected box, which is the case of CTBTO example. They have partial parts of the entire ESRI data sets only for those areas where they are operating. There is a cost associated to that. And then, as Emanuele said, some of the data is ESRI, some of the data is from the users. The user are those who are setting whether you are going to be able to access them. Of course, those data, as it is an integrated system, you are able to see it on the cloud, but you are also able to download them if the owner agrees, for you to use it directly on the desktop. Yesterday, on the demo of ArcGIS Online, and the bandwidth at the end helped us, we were able to download directly from the cloud to the desktop an overall food security situation in eastern part of Africa as April 2012, directly from the cloud to the desktop. So the question is, the answer is in two sections.
Maybe.
I'll just reply for the OpenStreetMap community. We have a lot of tools. I talk about the task manager of the humanitarian OpenStreetMap team, who is very useful because when you have no data, it is very simple to import data from NGOs and some producers. This is the simplest task. When you have a release of data from our ATP, for example, who is in charge of transport in Paris, for example, who release about 12,000 bus stop, for example, we must use conflation. So it is tools who are compare data who are already in the database of OpenStreetMap and data released by the operator. And what we are seeing is that data from OpenStreetMap in this case is more accurate than the data. But some data, the data from our ATP, but some data are missing. So we must use conflation in order to see what data are missing and to import them, but with the accurate position. This is we use conflation tools. We use it for coin uncover, for example, in order to import coin uncover in France. And for disconnected data from OpenStreetMap, you can go on planet.openstreetmap.org and you have the dump of the database each week, each minutes, and each hour.
And you can go also on CloudMate and GeoFabric.
And GeoFabric too.
Claire, maybe you want to say a few words to conclude?
Regarding the data validation, I mean, in our platform, this is done at the thematic groups level. So in each thematic group, we have one organization which has got the lead to coordinate and check the data and gather it, which comes from all the different other partners. And afterwards, there's still a second check, which is on the metadata and so, which is done also to improve the quality. But I must say that we still have some very bad quality data in our database, but this is still under improvement. I mean, because when you get some data without metadata, you first need to make checks to gather the information in order to be able to improve it. And in the DRC, there was really a huge lack of geographic data, and somehow it was better to have something than nothing. And so, yeah. Thank you.
It's very quick, but actually it's quite important. It really relates to what we're talking about. So we're spending the morning and yesterday in discussing different possibilities and systems using the cloud, but we didn't discuss actually the cooperations and collaborations that are out there between the different open source communities and the so-called private sector. ESRI has built for OpenStreetMap several editors, web editors and editors for ArcGIS as extensions. These are open source tools because ESRI also builds open source products on SourceForge. And the idea there is really to give the capacity of ArcGIS Desktop as a quality control tool in capturing and checking the data before it is posted to OpenStreetMap. And this is part of the collaborations. And actually this word is extremely rich. I don't see today, monolithic systems. I see more and more hybrid systems where actually the customers or the users need our support and need the open source community support as well. So collaboration, and actually more than collaboration, but really cooperation, because we're building something together, is extremely, not important, it's extremely there. You see it happen today. Thank you.
And there will be a roundtable on coordination where we can maybe talk about those aspects.
Maybe a last question or two?
I'm sorry, it's going to be a bit short for... Can we... Okay, make it very quick, please.
Thank you. It's about ArcGIS Online and the license restrictions. So we are making pre- and post-disaster maps globally.
Can you please present yourself?
I'm Peter Spruit, working for the European Commission in ISPRA DG GRC. Now, our reference maps for whatever disaster event, we use VHR imagery outside Europe. Inside Europe, we can use the image servers of each member state, and we use the WMS feed to put it in our ArcGIS. Outside Europe, as I said, we use VHR, archive. We also use for visualization the ArcGIS online tools like Bing imagery.
Maybe, excuse me, if the question is really about...
it's a license restriction. How can we create maps using Bing and Google imagery? Where is it written that we can use this? Is it enough to put a disclaimer and disseminate the maps? That's my question.
Do you have a quick reply?
Please don't leave before the end. We have a couple of announcements to make.
It's about the restriction.
Maybe shortly, you just have to read the terms of use of Google and Bing. I'm pretty sure you can't just combine these two databases to create one image.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think if you look at the Google terms of use, it is said that you have to use the Google data only in the Google's services. So I believe that it's not possible to use to see the Bing lay imagery within the Google Map API or something like that. So I think you must be breaking the license.
Don't hesitate to go and exchange directly.
Maybe we had the very last question.
Sorry, it's not. Please, if we can have them later on at the coffee. If not, we're going to be a bit short. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So 2 announcements. Thank you for the plenary. It was very interesting. The Hushaidi workshop is confirmed, so we had doubts about it. It is confirmed for today. And the second announcement is that we are going to, unfortunately, not be able to have the SenseFly drone demonstration because of the weather, which is pretty bad, so we're not going to be able to have it. What we suggest instead is at least a balloon demonstration, and we are thinking of having a picture taken of the entirety of the people that are here with the balloon in the main hall. So please go to the partner side, and we'll take that photo of the entire participant list. Thank you very much.